For every great car film, there's a woefully embarrassing effort. Petrolheads have staggered out of cinemas all over the world saying things like, "What did I just watch? I want my money back. If that's your idea of a good movie, I think we need to reconsider our relationship." I'm just guessing here. Anyway, here's my rundown of the top 10 worst car movies of all time, including a few that fell a little bit short. And if you thought Lindsay Lohan in Herbie Fully Loaded was atrocious, she hasn't even made the nearly list. Sorry, Mr. Tarantino, I wasn't impressed by Death Proof at all, nor was I swayed by Corvette Summer, and yes, that is Luke Skywalker himself, Mark Hamill. Duel wasn't so bad considering it was Steven Spielberg's first tilt at Tinseltown, and The Hearse was, well, just trust me, steer clear. And then there's Elvis Presley, so convinced he's a great movie star that he made 3 car-based musicals: Viva Las Vegas, Spin Out, and Speedway, and they were all a complete waste of time, money, and guitars actually. But they're not the worst efforts ever, so grab a sick bag and prepare to feel nauseous. We begin with the most pathetic excuse for a family film Disney has ever been involved with, even if only by association. The Lovebug remake went straight from studio to TV and starred Bruce Campbell and John Hannah, and yes, this CGI is from the movie. Even Dean Jones made a comeback appearance, although once you'd seen an evil beetle called Horace, everybody really had decided they'd seen enough. Even me. I know it's controversial, but I hated Breaking Bad, and I don't rate Aaron Paul's acting much either, so when he was cast in the lead of the video game adaptation Need for Speed, I doubted it would thrill me. The plot was contrived, the stunts were unrealistic, but at least the cars were good. Mind you, I'd rather play Forza or go to a motor show than sit through 2 hours of this tripe again. What's next? Oh yes, some things should just be left as a distant 80s memory, not reborn with 2 of the unfunniest men in America. Even Jessica Simpson couldn't raise my spirits. Dukes of Hazzard was unfunny, dull, stupid, and completely unoriginal in any way. And despite starring the great Burt Reynolds, and me actually hating other movies more, it's this one where I actually want the time back I spent watching it. Black Cadillac wasn't actually a bad idea. The problem is, it's been done to death in everything from Buffy the Vampire Slapper to supernaturally ongoing when will this series actually end. As low-budget Randy Quaid movies go, it's not abysmal, but it certainly isn't good, and you'd certainly be tempted to start throwing popcorn at the screen in absolute disgust. Or just walk out. Japanese manga to the big screen only really works if you stick to the spirit of the original. Redline didn't do this enough, and yet it seems they spent all their budget putting incredible cars on screen, instead of writing a good story, employing some good actors, and generally making a good movie. I've seen better spectacles on the Grand Tour, and that's just as scripted. I've even seen better acting on it too. Hey guys, I've got a great idea. How about a movie where a tyre runs amok and starts killing people? What? Are you serious? I'm afraid so. It's gory, horrifying, and ridiculously bad, but it's one of those movies that's so bad, there's actually a dangerous chance of this winding up on your DVD shelf next to your copy of Soldier, starring Kurt Russell. Time now for a car movie with lots of cool cars that kept getting stolen. 200 miles an hour had a Mazda RX-7 as the lead role's car, until it was nicked and replaced with a Nissan Silvia in the hope nobody would actually notice. Oh dear. And the film also included CGI that made Sly Stallone's Driven look like Avatar. It's often described as the worst car film ever, but I can think of 3 that are worse. One of the Fast and Furious movies were bound to end up here, and until last year, it was Tokyo Drift. But have you seen their latest offering? Cars getting blown up in the Arctic Circle, nearly rammed into by a submarine, and playing a 5-way tug of war? Are you actually flaming mad? I've seen enough, and I will say this once, and only once. Stop making Fast and Furious movies! But I hate Fireball 500 even more. Frankie Valli can't act. Annette Funicello nearly ruined her whole career by being in it, and having a title song that Frankie sings at the beginning actually called Fireball 500 sets the tone for this entire shambles of a disgraceful, turgid cesspit of a movie. And quite frankly, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer should be ashamed of themselves. But the winner is B-movie horror flick The Car. The difficulty here is that The Car is actually quite a good-looking vehicle, but the film is dire, and how James Brolin's career survived this literal car crash of a movie is staggering. Think of Nightmare on Elm Street and replace Freddy Krueger with a car, and add awful acting, terrible editing, and a plot with so many holes in it it's easy to mistake it for a slab of Swiss cheese. And it's recently been given the distinction of being released on Blu-ray. Blu-ray? Well, more fool those who buy it. Know a worse car movie? Stick it in the comments box below, but it's going to be tough to be worse than this monstrosity. In fact, excuse me,